I'm Guido Pelez, a senior food science major at the University of Maryland, and I'm from Frederick, Maryland. Both my parents didn't have the opportunity to go to school. My dad especially, he came from a very impoverished family, so he didn't really have the opportunities to pursue a higher education. I'm pretty much like the first one out of my family, my immediate family, to go to college. Well, applying to any university was a very difficult thing for me. I Googled a lot. Google was definitely very helpful for me. I Googled how to apply to universities. I Googled what different terms meant. I didn't know what FAFSA was. I was pretty much on my own, like trying to figure out how to apply to universities.
Public research universities have a unique tradition. Really, in 1862, and the Morrill Act, in my view, was really the launching of a new kind of institution in the world.
APLU has always been at the forefront of helping institutions understand the political landscape in Washington, D.C. in particular. So as the sequester, as budget issues have come to bear on all of us, APLU generally is out in front in terms of giving us the information that we need to know about what's happening here in Washington, D.C.
A principal role of APLU is to bring our members together. Individual institutions can have great impact, but collectively, if we have a common, easily understood message, we can have enormous impact and are doing so.
As a public institution, we deal with the public in a very precise and very proactive way. Public universities are, first of all, they're the producer of a large portion of the talent in America. But the public nature of what we do keeps us tied to the critical needs of the country.
We need to let people know in our community that with a college education, and when they graduate, they become engaged citizens within the community. It's important that not only do we give the accountability traditional measures, but also talk about what we call the social good.
A primary mission is to put knowledge into practice, and the second very important mission of APLU type institutions, of the land-grant universities, is to make real that higher education is the great equalizer of conditions in a democracy, which means to keep tuition affordable.
One thing that may not be very obvious is that we're very limited to like our education by our finances. So if students aren't able to pursue a higher education because of just like financially they're not able to support it, then that's a failure for any society.
If I had to take out loans, I don't think I would have come to University of Maryland. I would have had that fear because when I graduate, I have to be able to support myself, and the fear of having immense loans and trying to find my own housing, that would have deterred me away from the University of Maryland.
Access is tremendously important, and it has been for years. It'll continue to be, and it'll probably be even more important in coming years because of the economy and the challenge that many students and their families will have in terms of paying for their college education.
The Coalition of Urban Serving University, that is a subcomponent of APLU, is playing a major role in probably 50 to 70 communities around the country to put up and to put in place frameworks and strategies to close the achievement gap.
Access and affordability and success, graduation rate, is a critical part of the landscape now.
APLU has got a new metric that will actually track students from the beginning of their college career to the end of their college career. We only are allowed to report first-time, full-time freshmen in graduation rates. So imagine if you came from a community college and transferred in to the University of Iowa. We wouldn't count you. The community college couldn't count you. You would be lost in sort of the massive numbers, and we would never know if you actually graduated, when in fact you probably did. So we'll actually know a lot more about graduation rates at our institutions.
Project degree completion is a commitment by 500 public universities and colleges. See, the goal is to go from 41% of the population with degrees now to, by 2025, 60% of the population having degrees.
Hopefully, once I receive my my diploma, I'll be able to like get a really good job and like provide for my kids and really just find like financial security.
Individual students need to have access to a good education. They also need, in that whole stream of educational effort, to learn how to learn, to see a broader world.
You can be given all the resources that you need, but that to me isn't enough. With my French class right now, like, I love taking French, and learning to learn isn't just like reading the textbook and reading the literature. It's like going online and like listening to people speaking French, watching like French YouTube videos or French movies.
In January, for 3 weeks, I went to Chile, and it was one of the most amazing experiences that I ever had. It was a great way of immersing yourself in a new language because I had no Spanish prior to going to Chile, as well as taking classes and just doing a cultural immersion. And I feel like every student really needs that.
With the application to the University of Maryland, I registered as a food science major, and then here I am, and I started taking courses here, and I really fell in love with it, especially once I started taking food microbiology. I feel like that's kind of like where my heart is.
We not only learn things, in the classroom, but we learn things outside, especially from being in a school with a bunch of different, people from different backgrounds.
You see these young people whose lives are so dramatically changed by access and opportunity, and the reason that's important in an APLU context is that when the APLU system was created, it really focused on access and opportunity, and so it's the living embodiment of that.
It's that initial exposure, that initial opportunity to have access, that provides students with the opportunity to go, and once that happens, it changes what happens in their family for years to come.
When I walk across the stage and get my diploma, I know my mom's going to be crying. My dad's most likely going to be crying too. I'm going to try to fight back all the emotion I have. I feel like me going to college right now is setting a good example for not only my younger sisters, but like also my younger cousins, and pretty much anyone else in my family. I feel like this is a huge milestone in my family, at least because I'd be the first one to actually receive a college education. So it's going to mean the world to everyone.